change our minds. That the rural is not bad, it's not poor, it's not suffering. Rural is scenery, it's good, it's fresh air, it's the beauty that we have. Not until we do that, we'll always continue talking about, the rural to urban migration, where the largest participants are what? Young people. So, I think my parting shot is, as young people, we need to be the vanguards of the urban to rural migration. Are we together? And on that note, I thank you very much.
Another round of applause. Wow, that's great. You see the angle he came from. No, none of us were thinking. And as a Human Rights Commissioner, we thought he's going to talk about the right to life, the right to information. Right to information is poverty. Do you know that? When you don't have right to information, when you don't have access to information, is poverty. Even if you are rich, even if you have all the money in the world, if you don't have access to timely, credible, and reliable information, forget about it. Thank you very much for that. So he's asking us as young people, as we go back home, to put the Youth Charter in action. Let us don't forget in setting the agenda for the rural poor, the rural people, our young colleagues who are in the majority but lacks the basic facilities and amenities to identify and develop their potentials for the prosperity we yearn for. They are in the majority, so let's give them the opportunity to consciously or unconsciously identify and develop those potentials that can help us achieve what we're here for. We are now going to open the floor for discussion. They've beat the gun. You see, well, this is the problem. That's why, Usain Bolt was, in many times, Usain Bolt, people thought because he doesn't beat the gun, it will be difficult for him to win. We're going to give 5 opportunities. The rest, please make sure if you have issues, you can put them on paper. I'm going to take 2 from here because of the number and take 3 from here. So I start with the man in the front. So can you 2 please negotiate and give me 1 person? The 2 of you, you negotiate and give me 1 person, yes. Come now, talk with your colleague. Come and talk with your colleague. So give maybe 1 of you collect the ideas and present for both of you. So, the keynote speaker, is challenging you guys that as we take the mic for discussion, please, he's asking us that we know the problems. We know the problems. But the issue is, how are we? What opportunities do you have as young people? What information do you have as young people that you can share with other colleagues here so that they can use those practices, those opportunities, those experiences? That's the essence of the African peer review mechanism. We learn from others. So even though we want to tell the stories about our problems, but let's focus on what we are doing at our own level to domesticate and push the agenda so that others can learn from it. I'm not stopping you to say the problems, but I think let's focus on that because that's the whole essence of the African peer review mechanism. We review, we share the experience, we replicate, and communicate the result. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Robert is my name, representing the Africans in the diaspora. My country of origin is Uganda. To Commissioner Kahelu, all the aspirations we've talked about, what has been drafted on paper, cannot be achieved without civic space. We all know that young people are pushing the boundaries. all these aspirations you've talked about, and indeed, they've made contributions, but there is no civic space for them to advance these aspirations. How can we achieve it? That goes to Commissioner Kahero. And in this entire conference, we've not discussed civic space and safe spaces. It's a key component. Thank you.
He needs to recognize.
Yeah, don't worry. I just want to identify. So you start. After you, we have the lady at the back there with the sky blue mask.
Thank you, sir.
Please stand. Somebody wants to see you. Sorry, please. Now. Thank you. Continue.
Thank you, sir. I'm beginning with my colleague's submission. I'm Sings Gordon, and I'm a member of the National Youth Council of Uganda. In reaction to Honorable Kahero, for the youth to be empowered, actually to change the narrative from urban to rural, there is need for the rural to be empowered, most especially in this digitalized era, where the youth must access network, at least to ensure that the rural areas are as well empowered in terms of a network and infrastructure as enabling environments for the normal business of the youth for equality. Secondly, I want to also go in for another submission. When you look at the member states of the African Union that have subscribed, I think there is need for the member states to be in a position to be held accountable by going by the terms of the subscription to the African Union. And when you get to learn of this is when we can hold people accountable in case they are subscribing and they are not going by the terms. So it will become so hard for an ordinary youth to go ask accountability where even the regulations and terms of the subscription to the AU are not well presented or they are not there completely. Thank you. I beg to submit.
Okay.
Maybe a question before the lady take. How many of we here are from rural setting in our countries? How many of us here are from rural setting? The accountability starts from here. Sincerity of purpose, objectivity. How many of we are from the rural settings? Yes, lift up your hand. So meaning the majority are from the urban setting. So that's where we start as a member of the National Youth Council. When we identify participants for such programs, so we start by committing ourselves to take from the rural setting. That's how we start. We start to set the agenda. But if we leave them behind and we want to talk for them here, it becomes difficult. So I know, so that, I just want to clear that. Yes, my young lady.
Thank you very much. My name is Adeyemo Tiolua. I'm from Nigeria. I've been looking forward to this session since I saw the topic. The African Youth Charter. Now, the point of this charter is for it to be enforceable and justiciable in respective states, right? However, we know that some countries in Africa can be monist or dualist, meaning that some, they just need to sign the document and it becomes part of their laws. But for dualist states like Nigeria, for instance, by virtue of Section 12 of our Constitution, when we sign it at a larger house, it has to be ratified and domesticated for it to be part of our laws. Now, for instance, a country like Nigeria, once we sign this document, this youth charter, and then we assent to it, it might not necessarily be domesticated. It might not pass the second stage. And once it doesn't pass the second stage, there is no room for enforcement of the African Charter. So I want to ask, what is the AU doing? What can we as youths do to ensure that this charter is not only signed, but is ratified and domesticated and enforceable according to the constitution of my country, Nigeria? That's my question.
Thank you very much. How many of us here have read about Agenda 2063? How many of us here have read about Agenda 2063? Please lift up your hand. Article Aspiration 6 of the AU Agenda 2063. Lift up your hand. Apai, lift up your hand. So, my colleague is now charging us with a responsibility. And I was speaking with him. Excuse me, please. I was speaking with him, and I asked him, how can we influence you, the APRM and the Ugandan team, to integrate a presentation on the very document itself for which we are here? And this was his response, and maybe I subscribed to it. I don't know if all of us can subscribe to it. Now, all of us have access to mobile phone, Android phones. Since yesterday, some of us have used MBs, hundreds of MBs, to send pictures, photos, of our being here. The food, we snap the food. The sitting position, we take a photo of the sitting position. The clothes you wear today, you take picture of it. It's on Facebook, it's on WhatsApp, it's on Twitter. So can we take 10% of that MB and learn about the Agenda 2063? Because that's part of the domestication. The first stage of domestication is understanding the budget, the document you want to domesticate and take responsibility for. So that's an assignment. So by tomorrow, in the morning, please allow me, madam, to be up here again and ask. It will not be the same question, how many of you? So I'm not going to leak the question. It's an examination question. I need a man. Yes. No, from this point, here there were no women. So that's why I took 2 men. Okay, don't worry. 1 man, one woman, 1 man, and what? Is it 1 man again? Okay, carry on.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. I am Tegen Victor from Cameroon. I work with Allied Africa, the Alliance for Innovation, Empowerment and Development Africa. When we were challenged yesterday on the African Youth Charter, I actually went back to the hotel, I downloaded a copy, and I went through, and I fell in love with Article 26, line A, D, E, F, and J, because I realized a lot of the things, the little solutions we've been executing in Cameroon, it falls in line with those. So I was challenged in a very many number of ways. The question I have is this. Recognizing that no nation develops or goes to bigger heights by government alone, I'm trying to stress the fact that private-public sector engagement and collaboration is exclusively important. I'll give a perfect example. When I was selected for this symposium, I tried contacting the APRM secretariat in my country for a week, and I had no response. So I am trying to present a situation which I believe you already know, the AU envoy knows very well. When private sector is approaching public sector, they are always having this defensive mode. At Allied Africa, we don't believe in money. Yeah, money is important, yes. But we believe money is not the solution. Rather, a solution creates value, and the value creates worth. And that's what we are trying to do in every solution that we execute. Now, my question is this, sirs. as strategists, how would you advise us as per solutions, as per activities? We have them. I can boast that at Allied Africa we have them. We will not want the government to give us the money. We just want them to give us a recognition. If my government was covering me to come here, perhaps I would be able to sponsor another member of my team. If they give me the accreditation in a program that I'm doing and they give me the go-ahead, it will it will break down maybe roadblocks, maybe using of our council hall, maybe getting another educational partner, maybe getting an international partner. But we always get this blockage, especially for us from Francophone Africa. I looked around. I think we're just 4 Cameroonians here, out of about 750 youths. I also looked around, and we are just less than 5 Francophone countries here. I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong. So for Francophone Africa, there is this serious blockage. There is this antagonism. As strategists and as leaders, how would you advise us to penetrate them? Not for the money, but for the recognition. And as we've studied and understood here, competition is far less successful and collaboration is far more better. How can we penetrate the government in executing the solutions that we have? Thank you.
Thank you very much. They will answer you, but maybe one clarification that, again, we need to be clear while we go back home. And that was the essence of the APRM Secretariat in your country. The APRM Secretariat is not an implementing body of the government. So basically what the APRM Secretariat is doing is creating an enabling environment for good governance. So what they do, you go there, you discuss with them, they provide you the information, they provide you the opportunities that are here, information on the opportunities, and you go. Because what the APRM is doing is making sure that they monitor and evaluate actions that have been agreed on by governments, for good governance. They monitor, they evaluate, and report. And that report is what's been taken to the Forum of Head of States for discussion on that particular country. So for how do you access government in order for you to effect the necessary changes or actions you want to undertake, somebody will be here to help you on that. The woman with the pink, is it pink? Do I call it pink or orange? Orange, thank you very much. I have problem with color. Yeah, that one, yes. I have problem with colors. Okay, I will give one more opportunity to one woman. Okay, all the women whose hands are up, can you meet and give me one person while the other person speaks? Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rita Nanozi. I work with the Office of the Prime Minister. But me, basically, all I want to talk about is the solutions for the youth. I came from Makerere University, and as you said, the friends that we make, we have built a team that we share the same vision. We save 150,000 per month. And among us, the 12 people, if in case you cannot manage, we help you to find something that you can do. Instead of waiting for white-collar jobs, what can you do with your own hands? Me, myself, I taught myself to bake. I didn't go to school to bake. But I used the internet, YouTube, and Pinterest to start baking. And another thing, I crochet. I get the threads from China, and I do blankets for young children, what, sweaters, what. So all I want to tell the youth that what can you do in those hands? As the Bible says, God blesses the works of your hands. Instead of waiting for white-collar jobs, what can you do? And this is a message to the leaders of the youth. What have you done for your people? What have you done? Like, what example have you set for others? Have you started, because for us, we have started saving, and we are planning to buy instruments from government. We are trying very many things so that to see a better us tomorrow. We are not supposed to compete with each other because among us, the 12 girls, 3 of us bake. But we don't compete with each other. We just encourage, if in case one is down, we help out each other. So all I encourage is about not competition, but let us see that we make a better Uganda tomorrow as the youth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Just wait for that submission. I met with a lady from Malawi. And this lady is a huge agriculturist as I talk now. And she started her farm, well, I don't want to call it agriculture, a farm, because I'm an agriculturist, so let me talk from an informed background. You know, she owned a farm, less than an acre. And now, I've been following her for the past 5 years. Now she owns about 2.5 acres of land, producing lettuce, carrots, and now she has employed over 12 other young girls working on the farm. So the question is, how do we make agriculture sexy? I know some of you have seen some of those pictures on social media. The girl with that fine ass, weeding from her farm. So I agree with you, my sister. We should not wait for the package because the package don't come on time. And even if they come, the competition for them are huge. Next.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Beatrice Kamakune from Uganda, specifically the National Youth Council. In regards to the African Youth Charter, Agenda 2063, I realize that a lot of youth don't know about it, and this is because they do not have access to these documents. So I would like to request, how about that the African Union and the APRM secretariats to popularize these documents to the grassroots, because these conferences only happen for us who are in the capitals of the nations, and they never get back to the real beneficiaries. And you could say, why don't we take the information there? The National Youth Councils are actually incapacitated to be able to move this information down there. So why don't the development partners ensure that these programs also happen within the rural areas?
Thank you very much. So I will now open the floor for the panelists to respond. But let me make it clear. I came here purposefully because as a Pan-Africanist and my president being the chair of the APRM Forum of Head of State and Government, whatever is being done at the APRM level, my country needs to be at the peak of it. And I've just spoken with the APRM team, CEO and others, and I've started speaking with my colleagues in my country. How are we going to replicate this one at the national level? So maybe that can be something we can start thinking. How do we replicate this? You don't need to take your colleagues to the most expensive hotel. Who has been a scout here? Any scout here? Somebody who has been a scout? Have you ever been to a hiking or camping? A hike and a camp. So take your colleagues for a camp. You train them about this. They will go back and train another one. Then by the time you say a year, you will have a huge number of the young people understanding the youth charter. But there might be other way. Yes, sir. You have the floor, sir. Yeah, you can respond from there.
Can you hear me? All right, fantastic. There are a few things that, well, most of the questions, most are not questions for me per se, but just reflections. But I would take it differently and maybe turn it into a charge. And I'll start with the young man from Cameroon who quoted Article 26 of the Youth Charter and some specific, some specific lines of that charter. But it's interesting to say that Article 26 actually tasks young people on what they should do, rather than I don't know, saying it basically tells you this is how you should push the charter itself. This is your responsibility in ensuring that there is uptake of the charter. And I think that is a starting point for all of us to understand very clearly what our roles are and how we can ensure that we play them. The other thing was the point around access. I beg to differ, and I say this because the onus lies on us to take information to where information does not exist. And for those of us who are Christians, for example, you hear about evangelism. And what does that mean? It means taking the message to places where the message does not exist. So rather than need someone to give you the information, you need to look for it, you need to source for it, and become evangelicals who take the information to the people at the grassroots. And that way you create a ripple effect that goes from the bottom to the top. Because you cannot engage government or anyone without information. Now, people say information is power. It is not. Information is empowerment. What you do with it is power. So how you use the information that you have is what is important. But just a few things to wrap this up. Is to say that, and I think a couple of people mentioned it, collaboration, not competition. Let's come together, let's work together. And that's why spaces like this exist, where we can begin to create pockets and pockets of impact. So how are you engaging the colleagues you've met here from Ghana, from Sierra Leone, from Lesotho, from Malawi, to be able to create change in your own environment? But also, accountability is a two-sided coin. It's okay to hold governments accountable, but how are you holding yourself accountable? And what are you doing to drive the youth agenda? And I think I just want to charge each and every one of us to always engage in spaces that allow us to create influence, spaces like this, where there are ministers here, ministers across levels, there are people in government here. How are we engaging with them to push our agenda? It's important. They've come, many of them have left, but what have we been able to create as an impact? So let's continuously engage in spaces that allow us to do that. And more importantly, don't just hear this youth charter, Apaye, 1 million, and do nothing with it. Take it, localize it, simplify it in the best way you can, and use that to create impact. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
That's a great one. As we go, there is a very interesting one here. For Busingwe Nundini, Smart Youth Network, UPR Experts, Universal Periodic Review. He said, let the National Youth Councils take lead in sharing this report for reviews and recommendations. So National Youth Councils, it goes back to you. What are you doing? This is your document at the National Youth Council. What are you doing? Take this body. You are there as the peer group, as the pressure group, as the civil society space to challenge government on the content of the... Another one is, you talked about the inter-country learning. And this person is saying, next APRM, let countries show reports on what they are doing in terms of youth empowerment, and common agenda so that we learn and recommend the best lessons learned. I subscribe. Yes, sir. Brother Sam.
Thank you very much. Do I need to respond to the question?
No.
I don't need to.
These are recommendations.
Those are recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think my colleagues has actually alluded to all the issues that were raised. And what I'm just going to say is that us as young people, let's see ourselves as the solution makers. The charter is there, it's just creating an avenue. It's a guiding principle, somewhere we can start from, can benchmark and say, this is what Africa wants, and this is what they want to see. But African Union will not come down and say, you do this. It is incumbent upon us, the young people, to take it up. Let me give an example. If we look at that, the issue of economic empowerment is clear, it is important. Then as young people, the charter has already provided for that. So we can benchmark from that and say, the African Union, you agree that the young people must be empowered. So why don't we have something that supports them? Because the member states are part of this wonderful document. But of course, the government will not always wait. I've always challenged myself that I am a youth. But when I compare myself with women, the rate at which women succeed in their advocacy, it's at a faster rate than us, the young people. What do they do uniquely that really make them feel more acceptable than us, the young people? And it goes back to what you said, is the issue of the mindset. Let's show positive mindset towards supporting good initiatives, towards showcasing our ability to create change and demonstrate some of the tangible things that we are doing in the community. If we can do that, I think platforms like the National Youth Council can utilize them to amplify them to the key decision makers, whereby a young person in the rural area cannot access. But us at the National Youth Council, at the national level, at the grassroots level, can access this young person. And we can use such things to influence the policy decision-making process and the policy makers to actually challenge them to support the youth development. Thank you.
Brother Crispin, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'll make very short responses to the issues that were put to me. First, on the question of civic space, I want to respond with the confidence of having been both on the civil society side and now on the government side, that civic space is a contested terrain. That's number one. And my short response is that civic space, or space for that matter, is not served like a hot meal or the lunch that we just had. You have to fight for it. You have to assert yourself. You have to put pressure where you need to put pressure. You need to lobby. You need to mount your advocacy. But most importantly, I think we young people should understand that we need to do more of organizing than agonizing. On the second point around the empowerment of the rural areas, I totally agree with you, Gordon. I think we need technology, we need infrastructure, we need digitization, we need financial services, we need access to clean water. All these things should be sent to the rural areas. But lastly, I want to make this very clear, that I think the young people, the youth, must concertedly summon their power. They should summon their resourcefulness, their intellect, in order to leap from just talking, agonizing, to doing or making things happen within the circumstances that they are in. Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry I will have to close the curtain here now, but let me end with this. That even in the Western world, there is not enough civil space. There is not enough civil space for civil society activists. So what they do, they create the opportunity, they interlink, they connect. We have seen the introduction of the hashtag. The hashtag did not come from Africa. It comes from where? The Black Lives Matter. We started seeing how, institutions came together to support the Black Lives Matter, and so many. And so we can use the hashtag to create the civil space. So it doesn't necessarily mean we need to converge in Uganda here. But before we leave here on Saturday, let's make sure that before you leave, take up to 20. Make sure you challenge yourself to have 20 contacts, and not 20 contacts from the same country. Try to get 20 contacts from 20 different countries, form a network, and start developing or building concession around issues that are common around your countries, and start developing hashtag around them. Simple on social media, you start. And once you start getting momentum, then you will be surprised, you will be shocked to see the support coming from, but you cannot sit behind the doors in the houses, and you expect things to happen. It doesn't be this way. We are talking about 1.2 billion. We are talking about 1.2 billion people. I know we are following what is happening in the UK, not so? Are you following what is happening in the UK? Okay, so we are calling for civic space. But we see, look at what is happening in Russia and Ukraine. With all the fine policies and all the rest of it, we are now how do you say? We didn't set the fire, but the fire is burning us. So please, ladies and gentlemen, we are the civil space. We are the civic space. Let's use ourselves to create the civic space and fight for those things we believe in. Fight for those things you believe in. Don't take it personal. Don't be apolitical in your approach. But let it be for a reason subjective to the general benefit of all. And then you will see it growing like wildfire. Somebody said, Mr. Minister, kindly correct the previous speaker. If a woman succeeds, she did not succeed because she's a woman. That is a troublesome trajectory because it's gendering success, and that's not appropriate. Do we all agree with it? Okay, so general concession. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for this very important one. We'll continue the discussion, we'll continue the conversation until we see Africa as the empire of the mind. Thank you very much.
Please, another round of applause for our panel. I invite the photographers to please come forward to take a picture of our final panel. And as we do that, let's give them final energy, a final round of applause. It would be lost on me if I didn't make a special shout out to Deputy Minister Kalon, who was originally not scheduled to moderate the session, but when we approached him, he really grasped this opportunity. And as you can see, he's really passionate about the issues that our young people. So yes, absolutely, a round of applause for Deputy Minister. We apologize for those we were not able to give an opportunity to make their interventions. We usually want to engage as many people as possible, but it's just that time is not on our side. You will agree with me that getting people back into the meeting room after lunch is a major challenge. So please do excuse us. We do not mean to exclude anyone. Please do approach your panelists as they're here and discuss with them. Please do keep the conversation going on social media. And on that note, I also want to give a special shout out for those who have joined us via our Zoom. The online audience has been very vibrant and has been engaging, as well as those who are joining us on the Facebook Live, as well as the Twitter stream. So thank you for those, and we look forward to further engagement tomorrow. As we this morning did again trend at #1, let's do it again tomorrow. And on announcements, please note that tomorrow all the sessions will run parallel, and therefore that means that from 8 a.m. tomorrow, the sessions will start sharply, ending at 11 a.m. to allow for the official closing of this conference. So please note that as you have breakfast, make it a little bit earlier because the breakfast will be closed by 8:30 to allow people to be at the meeting rooms on time. A revised program will be sent to all the participants, so please do tell a friend, tell a person who didn't make it to the breakout session of this announcement. And as we then close the session for today, I want to give the final congratulations to every single one of you who made it here until the very end of the day. I know it was not easy, but congratulations to yourself, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And with that, the session for today has come to a close. Thank you. Please do remember the dinner as well that will be hosted by the minister right where we had dinner yesterday. Thank you, everyone.
Uganda is a fairy tale. You climb up, and at the end, there is a wonderful new world. Different. The vegetation is different. Climate is different. And most of all, the people are different from anything elsewhere to be seen in the whole range of Africa. I say, concentrate on Uganda. For magnificence, for variety of form and color, for profusion of brilliant life, bird, insect, reptile, beast, and for vast scale. Uganda is truly the pearl of Africa.
Yeah.
It works. Waneno